Student, till last lecture we were trying to understand the circuit, means how the body is transporting the fluid and the other material. So we have learned the types of circulation. In that we all have seen, as per the organism's body structure, the circulatory system is of two types: closed circulatory system, open circulatory system. In the case of the closed circulatory system, circuits are of two types: single circulation, where the blood comes into the heart only once, and double circulation, there the two type of loops we will have seen, one pulmonary loop and the systemic loop, and we will have seen that the blood enter into the heart twice. But all this possibility of the circuit is only and only because of the circulating fluids. So what things are circulating into the blood, we all are going to learn in detail. But circulating fluid itself is a big concept, so I have divided it into the two parts. One is the, we in general whatever circulating fluids which circulates in our body we all are going to discuss, and in the next lecture the blood, which is the most important circulating fluid, we will discuss in the detail. So this lecture today we will not learn the circulating fluid blood, but what are the other things which circulate. So when we talk about the circulating fluid, so it is very essential for all body cell to receive the continuous supply of the oxygen. Now see, why do they require oxygen? They require oxygen for the purpose of their metabolic reactions. Then food they required water, other vital substances. Additionally, metabolic waste must be removed from the cells and it must be transported to the excretory organ. Now, why it should go? Because for the expulsion from the body, if the metabolic waste will start accumulating into the cells, so this debris will create the issues. There are certain diseases in which the uric acid and other substances, if they nitrogenous wastage, they are not removed from the body, they are causing the pain and other type of the diseases. So it is very important to remove all this in the unicellular organism. When we see the food is present into the external environment, directly oxygen come into the cell by the diffusion. Not only this, cytoplasm is having each and everything, means all thing is transported within the cytoplasm. So they don't require the extra circulating fluid. Whatever things are there directly mixing. See, simply their food sources, external environment, oxygen whenever they require they are taking, because they are the single cell. So the movement of the cytoplasm itself is causing the transportation. They don't require certain type of the circulation and all. So example, if we'll take the paramecium, food is digested with the food vacuole that will be circulated to the all part of the cell, and whatever food is undigested, means the residual form, it remains in the vacuoles, and this vacuole are only going to excrete it from the cell membrane. So they have the process exocytosis and the endocytosis. They don't have the sophisticated circulatory system, respiratory system and all. But when we talk about the multicellular organism, now multicellular organism also we know that there are two categories. One is the simple multicellular organism and another is the complex. So when we talk about the simple multicellular organism, they form the body cavity, and this body cavity is open into the environment. And example, the hydra, they have the single cellum. So whatever they are present into the water, so what is going to be happen, their exchange is directly occurring into the medium. But when we talk about the higher form, so higher form, they have the larger body size. Not only this, complexity also increases. So metabolic activity will also increases. Why? Because high energy demands they require. Their internal fluid transport substance efficiently occurs within the body cavity, or there must be proper systems or the channels, or you can say the tubes must be there, where all these things, or you can say the systems must be run into the circulation. So the circulating fluid in the animals are different types, including water, coelomic fluid, hemolymph, lymph, and the blood. So one by one we will discuss. The first and the most important is the water. Now when we talk about the water, so in some organism the circulatory fluid is the only water. Simple organisms like sponges, cnidarians. So this water is helping as the circulating fluid. Now this water will take or will fulfill the demand of each body cell. What happens in that type of organism? They have the opening. That opening is called as the ostia, and if it is single, it is called as the ostium. So what happens? They drink water or they drain the water inside their body cavity. Their body is hollow from inside. So water current comes enter into their body, and inside the body the water goes, or you can say circulates in the entire body part. So what happens? That water brings small food material, whichever things they require to them. Not only this, whatever simple multicellular organism has produced the metabolic waste, this water takes that thing also away. So this water serves as a circulating fluid. So what the water is helping them? It is helping them, or it is supplementing them with the nutrients. Not only this, it is going to remove the metabolic waste such as the nitrogenous waste and all. So in this form, from the surrounding, water will enter into the central body cavity. I told you just now example, the ostia, a more or less developed system of channel ensures that all cells of body will come in contact with the water. See, this is about the lower organism, but some higher organism also, like sepia, water plays a very important role. They have all the systems, but still metabolic waste removal work and many things are done by the water. So water carries the nutrient. Not only the nutrient, the water has the dissolved oxygen. So this dissolved oxygen will be diffused into the cells, and the carbon dioxide will be mixed up into the same water. So whatever metabolic waste are produced by the cells will come back into the water, and when the water will leave it, means will leave the body cavity, so all such type of waste material will be thrown out of the body. So water, the fresh water which is entering, is having the dissolved oxygen, it is having the nutrients. So this is helping that simple multicellular organism. These organisms are relatively small, and most of the time they are inactive, do not require the rapid and direct transport of substance to and from the cells. So for that reason, means they are the simple organism. They are stagnant to one place. Example, your sponges and all. So they are not the motile, they are sessile animals. So for that particular reason, they do not move. So their metabolic energy rate is also low. Then next is the coelomic fluid. Now coelomic fluid will be present into the coelomates. Example, platyhelminths, nemathelminths. So what happens in their type of organism? Their body cells, they are bathed by the watery fluid. Now whatever organs or whatever cells are there, so all these cells are in contact with the coelom, and this coelom is filled with the water, and whatever spaces are produced between the cells, these all spaces will get filled with that coelomic fluid. So this coelomic fluid contains the amoeboid cells, which is called as the coelomocytes. Is in the protein, it will have the dissolved nutrients like glucose, fatty acid, glycerol, etc. So this fluid will move chiefly by the action of the ciliated cells, contraction of the myoepithelial cells, and the body wall. Now what is going to be happen? Coelom is then coelom is filled with the coelomic fluid. Now this coelomic fluid have the nutrients, or you can say the body demand, like glucose, fatty acid, glycerol, etc. Moreover, that it is dissolved form, that means it is comprised of the water also. So what is going to be happen now? There is a need to circulate this fluid. So how the circulation of this fluid will be taken place? So this will have the amoeboid cells, or you can say the coelomocytes. Now these cells, this fluid will be, now how the action of movement will come across. So there are ciliated cells. So what going to be happen? Myoepithelial cell will contract. So when this myoepithelial cell will contract, its cilia will move. So when the cilia are the hair-like structure of the present on the cell. So when the cilia will move, so automatically it will bring the wavy action into the coelomic fluid, and the coelomic fluid will also move. The coelomic fluid will help the transportation of nutrient, respiratory gases, as well as the metabolic waste. Additionally, it acts as a shock absorbent, and it provides the hydrostatic skeleton necessary for movement. See, here you need to understand the hydrostatic skeleton means what? It means the inner skeleton, which is filled like structure, uh, fill balloon like structure, and this filled like structure maintains the necessary skeleton, and it helps the movement of the platyhelminths and the nematodhelminths. So this is about the coelomic fluid. Next important category is the hemolymph. Hemolymph, now hemolymph little higher. Now see, whenever we are studying comparative study, so we always go to the lower to the higher organism. So we all have seen the lower organism, or you can say the simple multicellular organism, they were having water. Then little bit modified coelomates, we all have seen platyhelminths, nematodhelminths, we found the coelomic fluid. Now little higher order you will go, like arthropod body is more complex. So more complexity, that means more advanced form of the fluid is required. So they develop the hemolymph. Now hemoterm we are very much aware of, is for the blood. So blood and lymph mixture. Understood? So arthropods and the non-cephalopod mollusks, they will have the open circulation. See here, it is very clearly mentioned non-cephalopods. Mollusks are of two types, cephalopods and non-cephalopods. So whatever cephalopods mollusks are there, they will have the closed circulatory system. So proper blood circulation and all will be found in there. Example is the sepia. Now, when we talk about the arthropods and non-cephalopod mollusks, so they will have the open circulation. Now, open circulation means there is no vessel-like structure, but if vessels are present, that vessels will be having the limited entity, that means to the limited organ. So whatever blood will be coming from the vessel, that is going to be emptied into the hemocoel. You all remember I had discussed this point when we were talking about the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system. That time I clearly told you that the open circulatory system, the blood vessels, if are present, are not completely connected. Incomplete connections are there. They are limited to the simple organal part only. They are present into the simple organs only, and thereafter they all commonly enter into the the common cavity, and that cavity in the science is called as the coelom. And when this cavity is filled with the blood, so that's why this cavity is called as the hemocoel. So this is the revision of the open circulatory system we all have done. So here what is happening, the hemolymph, the blood from the vessel, whatever is coming from the small incomplete vessels, they will be emptying into the hemocoel, or you can say the body cavity or the sinus. Then directly this sinus or this body cavity or this coelom will be in contact with the tissue cell. So here, once in the sinus, there is no distinction between the coelomic fluid and the blood. Understood? Here, this is almost same. So it is called as a hemolymph, because it is made up of the plasma and the amoeboid cells, that is called as the hemocyte. When we talk about the plasma, so plasma is a colorless substance, but sometimes it will show the greenish or bluish tinge to it when it's oxygenated. Now why? Because of the presence of the hemocyanin. Now see, what is the hemocyanin? Hemocyanin is the respiratory pigment. We all have discussed about the various type of the respiratory pigments: hemoglobin, hemocyanin, hemoerythrin. So it is one of that. So hemocyanin, due to cyanin is having some copper as a prosthetic group. So for that particular reason, it shows the greenish or the bluish tinge into that when it gets oxygenated. Now this hemocyanin, which is a copper based respiratory pigment, that will, when it accepts oxygen. Now see, we all have discussed about the ferrous. When it accepts oxygen, it gives which color? It gives actually it's red only in color, but when it accepts the oxygen, it becomes very bright red. So same way, when this hemocyanin, when it accepts the oxygen molecule, or when it becomes oxygenated, it turns very means bluish or greenish type color. Now arthropods includes the class Insecta. We know and we have learned about the respiratory system of the insect, so we know it, that they have the tracheal system of for exchange of the respiratory gases, and the hemolymph, which carries a little bit oxygen. So this hemolymph will help to transport the nutrient, salts, hormones, and the metabolic waste, including the other compounds which are made when special insects have the special compounds, pheromones and all, that all are also mixed here only. It is also a reservoir of water which will maintain the hydrostatic equation necessary for the activities like molting, hatching, reproduction. So cells in the hemolymph provide the defense against the disease. So that means they have the immune cells also dissolved into the hemolymph. Now see, when we were talking about the previous type of fluid, that is the coelomic fluid, so we all have seen only nutrients are dissolved here. Then they have the amoeboid cell. Not only amoeboid cells, they were having the myoepithelial cells and the ciliated cells. So this myoepithelial cell and ciliated cell is helping into the transportation, and amoeboid cell is helping for the nutrient production. But what was the function here? Only the transportation and shock absorption. But when we are going to the next level, that is the hemolymph, here the role is increasing, right, children? It is helping into the respiration, it is circulation, helping into the circulation, it is helping into the immunity. Not only this, it is transporting the hormones and all. So what we learned about the hemolymph, that arthropod and the non-cephalopod mollusks, they have the open circulation. So because of that, because of the open circulation, we all know they have the incomplete blood vessel. So all these blood vessels, they get dumped or they can emptied directly into the coelomic fluid, and this coelomic fluid, into the coelom or sinuses or whatever cavity is present there. So this cavity here, they are mixing with the blood. So coelomic fluid plus blood, it is called as the hemolymph. So this hemolymph will have the plasma, this will have the amoeboid cells, and these amoeboid cells are a bit modified, which is called as the hemocyte. Now when we talk about the plasma, plasma is always colorless, but they have the respiratory, most of the time they have the respiratory pigment, which is called as the hemocyanin. And this hemocyanin is a copper-based respiratory pigment. When it gets combined with the oxygen, it gives the greenish blue tinge to the plasma. And this hemolymph, that is very important to remember, this hemolymph helps to transport nutrient, salts, hormones, and metabolic waste. Not only this, this is reservoir of water and helps to maintain a hydrostatic pressure necessary for activities. Now, which activities? Molting, hatching, reproduction. So here role is coming into the reproduction, role is coming into the circulation, respiration. So the role is enhances. Now cells into the hemolymph, this will also have the immune power. That means they also comprise of the immune cells. They give the defense against the various diseases. So this is about the hemolymph. Little more modified we will discuss next is the lymph. Now lymph will be present or will be separated where the blood is there. Understood? Otherwise, previous case, hemolymph is the blood and the lymph mixture. Now when you will go to the further more higher complex organism, they will have the this cardiac circulation and lymphatic circulation as a separate entity. There will be no mixing of the lymph and the circulatory fluid, children. So for that reason, when we talk about lymph as a sole entity, so that time it means that the blood will be different. Blood and lymph are separated. So as the blood circulates through the thin wall capillaries, small amount of plasma, then water, small proteins, dissolved solute, all this oozes out from the capillary wall into the surrounding tissue. Now this is going to produce the tissue fluid, and now this tissue fluid will not have the formed element. Now see, when we all are going to discuss the blood in detail, that time I will tell you that the blood have the two important component. One is the plasma, another is the formed element. Formed element are the blood cells. So now this capillary wall is thin, because of that the plasma, water, protein, whatever solutes are there, it is oozing out. But when we talk about the diameter, see example RBC only we will take. So the diameter of RBC is 7 μm. So this is such a big diameter to ooze out from that. So these things will retain inside the capillary only. So these red blood corpuscles, then large protein, they all will not come out of the capillary wall. So this tissue fluid will be fill all the spaces of the body, and this tissue fluid will touch all the cells. That means all the cells will be embedded or bathed inside the tissue fluid. Now this tissue fluid is colorless. Why? Because it do not have the respiratory pigment. Because in the higher organism we all have learned that this respiratory pigments are well packed into the respiratory cells. That example we all have learned is the red blood cell. So if respiratory pigment, now previous case also we all have seen that the color to the plasma was coming because of the respiratory pigment. Now if respiratory pigment is not there, so there is no chance of any color to the plasma. So this plasma will be colorless fluid. Now, see, sometimes you will find that this grass yellow color, dry grass yellow color to the plasma. It is because of the some type of the proteins dissolved into it. But always, usually, it is colorless fluid. And when we talk about the composition of the plasma. So this composition of the plasma will be similar to the plasma of blood. Now, what it is made up of? It comprises of largely the water, inorganic ions like sodium, calcium, potassium, chloride. Then when we talk about the other components, molecules, biomolecules, lipid, protein, then it will also have the nitrogenous molecule like urea, creatinine. Not only this, some other enzymes, hormones, lymphocytes, antibody like substance will also be dissolved into it. Students, it's important to remember the component of the plasma. So we need to remember that the plasma is made up of water, but it will have the dissolved ions like sodium, calcium, potassium, chloride. It will have the biomolecules, lipids, proteins. It will have the nitrogenous molecule, urea, creatinine. It will also have the special protein molecules like enzymes, and it will also have the lymphocytes and antibodies. Antibodies are the immunoglobulin. So these are the globulin, or you can say globulin is a type of protein which is helping or working for the immune system. That's why they are called as the immunoglobulin. When we talk about the plasma fluid, so it is collected by the lymphatic vessels and it is drained back into the veins. Now, see, this is something very interesting and important to remember, children, that this fluid which is oozing out of the blood capillary. Now, see, it is from where it is coming, it is oozing out of the blood capillary. Now, this where it is going to the interstitial spaces. Interstitial spaces means the space present between two cells. And from there, it is going to be collected by the lymphatic vessel. Understood the pathway from where it is coming? It is coming from the blood capillary. It is going to the interstitial spaces. From the interstitial spaces, children, it is going to the lymphatic vessel. And interestingly, this lymphatic vessel will drain them into the veins. Why? Because this interstitial fluid will also have the nitrogenous waste, or it will also comprise of the dissolved carbon dioxide. Now, when we were talking about the respiration, that time we all have seen that a lot of the carbon dioxide is dissolved or mixed into the plasma and the interstitial fluid. So, for that particular reason, it must go back to the veins, and from the vein, this whatever excretory waste product which has been formed, it must go to the respective excretory organ. Like if it is the nitrogenous waste, there is a need, it must be given back to the kidney for the filtration. If it is the carbon dioxide, there is a need that it must go to the heart, and from the heart it must be taken to the pulmonary respiration, so that the exchange of the carbon dioxide with the oxygen can occur. Then when we talk about the lymph assistance, the lymph, so it assists the blood and its function exchange between the tissue and blood occurs by the way of lymph. So that means this lymph is just working as the blood's assistant. Now nutrient, oxygen, hormones, all this present in the blood will enter into the cell via the lymph only, because blood directly, now see, blood is a very smart fellow, it just run into the capillary only, it do not come out from the capillary. So from what thing is coming out of the capillary? From the capillary, lymph is coming out. So whatever hormone, now we say that the hormones circulate from the blood. So whatever substances which are transporting from the blood, so from the blood, if it has to go to the destiny or the target organ or the target cell, so it has to take the short way, or you can say the another circulating fluid. That means suppose if you want to go to the college, the main from your city to the college, you are coming by the train, but the train will not take you to the college. From there you have to go by auto rickshaw, right? So this lymph is the auto rickshaw there. Understood? So now blood has brought blood has brought the hormone or whatever desired nutrient to the target organ, but to the nearest station. But from that station to the target organ, taking work will be done by the auto rickshaw, that is the lymph. So whatever things, nutrient, oxygen, hormone, whatever things will be entered and that will coming out of the cell, means whatever waste product coming back again by the auto rickshaw, that means the lymph only to the blood capillaries via the lymph. So now, whatever fatty acids molecules which are formed into the intestine are very big to absorb by the blood capillaries. So, for that reason, that will be absorbed by the intestinal villi, and then that will be entered to the lymph, and from the lymph it will be given to the blood. Understood? Because the main transporting machinery is the blood. The composition of the lymph varies depending on which part of the body it is present in. The lymphocyte present in the lymph are responsible for the removal of microorganism and foreign particle and immune response of the body. Children, the point to be remember, the lymph comprise of 99% of the lymphatic cells. Now these lymphatic cells in the higher class, that means in TY, you are going to learn in detail. So that time, or you can watch my video also, I had made the cells of immune system. So that video, when you will watch, you will understand that 99% of all those cells resides into the lymph only, because the lymph have access to the all body cells. So whenever the cells immune system is challenged, so that particular time they call the lymph immediately, and this lymph, which comprise of lots many of the lymphatic cell, will help them to remove the microorganism or whatever debris are there. So this is about the circulating fluid. The next most important circulating fluid is the blood, which we will discuss into the next lecture. Let us revise what we all have discussed in short. We all have discussed about the types of circulating fluid. So we all have seen as per the organism, the circulating fluid varies. So first for circulating fluid was the water. It is present into the simple organism like sponges, cnidarian. So what happens? They do not have their own body fluid. So their body is made up of the simple cells, means simple multicellular organisms are there. So what happens, whatever water current they are taking from the medium, it is circulating or moving into the body, and it not only provides all the body cells the nutrient, because this multicellular organism have the small diets, they eat whatever, they are filter feeder usually. So whatever small particles are present into the water, they eat that, and not only the water is supplementing them with the food, but also taking back whatever metabolic waste are produced by those organisms. Second thing you will have learned about the coelomic fluid. This coelomic fluid is present into the animals which comprise of the open circulatory system. So whatever small blood vessels, open circulatory system organisms have, they dump or they empties their whatever fluid are present, and that this fluid will help into the movement, and this fluid will have the amoeboid cell. These amoeboid cells will produce the dissolved nutrient, and this coelomic fluid will help into the transportation of nutrient, respiratory gases, metabolic waste. Not only this, this will also supplement the animal with the shock absorbent ability and hydrostatic skeleton. Then next also we will have discussed about the open circulatory system animal, that is the Haemolymph, but here the organism is little bit higher. For that reason, they will be having the heme as well as the lymph. So this hemolymph is nothing but the coelomic fluid like entity only, but as it comprise of the dissolved pigment, respiratory pigment in it, so that's reason. And it is also having the hemo side, it is called as the hemolymph. So the function is little bit higher and it is present in little bit higher organism like arthropods and non-cephalopods. So this hemolymph helps into the transport of nutrient, salt, hormone, metabolic waste. Not only this, it is the reservoir of water and it helps to maintain the hydrostatic pressure, and it supports the reproductive activity and the developmental strategy of the animal. And it also helps up to the some extent into the immunity. Then next, higher most animal, their this sorry, their lymphatic system and the cardiac system, they are different. So for that reason, they have the cardiac circulation and the lymphatic circulation as a separate. So what happens? The blood capillaries, they when they run, so they flow or they oozes out the liquid which will have the dissolved protein and plasma, and this will be collected by the lymphatic system, and lymphatic system will be draining it into the veins, and from there it will enter into the excretory system. So this lymph is acting as a transporter from the blood to the tissue. So this will have the this is the main transporting system from the blood circulation to the all body cells. So this will have many functions like it will be helping into the nutrient and all passing. So in detail, we all are going to learn about the next circulatory fluid, blood, into the next lecture. So for this note, for this particular lecture, we'll stop now. But if you have any doubt, definitely you all can ask me.